Hi, good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending today's webinar, Navigating the Chinese Market. I'm just going to quickly go through the agenda for today. So first up, we'll have a quick opening remarks from Dr. Paulo Vaz, who is the board member of AEP. And then next up, we'll have a short presentation of the Enterprise Europe Network, following with the short presentation of the EU SME Centre. And then we'll have the main part, which is the understanding the Chinese market, focusing on the practical issues from the business advisor of ES SME Centre. And then we'll have a round of discussion and Q&A where you can share your questions and then we'll be able to answer you. And in the end, we'll have our closing remarks. So let's begin with our opening remarks from Dr. Paulo Vaz, the board member of AEP.
Hello, good morning. Good morning to you all. Beginning with some special thanks to Mrs. Sara Medina from SPI, to Mrs. Céu Philippe from Enterprise Europe Network, Mr. Sérgio Alves, also manager of SPI, Mr. Alessio Pettino, business advisor from EU SME Centre. So I would just like to say a few words on this webinar, welcoming everyone to this session dedicated to Chinese market, which we are holding in partnership with EEN, Enterprise Europe Network, SPI, Sociedade, Portuguesa, Inovação, and EU SME Centre, whom I thank for this collaboration. In these recent years, the relationship between Portugal and China has strengthened, marked by historical, cultural, and economic ties. In the economic sphere, trade was growing significantly. Portugal is an important exporter of food products such as wine and olive oil and cork to Chinese market, while imports of technology and electronic products from China have helped to boost our economy. This exchange is fundamental to strengthening our industries and creating new business opportunities. AEP plays a vital role in this context. Our mission in Asia is to promote and support Portuguese companies in exploring important markets such as China. Through participation in international fairs, trade missions, and networking workshops, we have facilitated Portuguese companies' access to vast Asian market, helping them to establish strategic partnerships, identify new investment opportunities, and promote the exchange of knowledge and best practice between entrepreneurs from both countries. Throughout this session, we will have the opportunity to provide a comprehensive overview of Chinese market and share practical knowledge on how to do business in China. Practical cases will also be presented, highlighting the main challenge faced by SMEs and viable measures to reduce potential problems in the market. I will finish by emphasizing that AEP is very pleased to be associated with this initiative as part of its strategy to support the internationalization of Portuguese companies, namely our Business on the Way project, which has already carried out since 1990 more than 700 actions, covering around 90 markets and involving more than 7,000 companies, as well as through the EEN, the Enterprise Europe Network, of which AEP is a member, being a crucial platform for companies wishing to become more competitive, providing them with strategic information and support services. We still have a long way to go to strengthen the economic relationship between Portugal and China, but I'm sure that every entity here present are committed. We reaffirm our full availability to continue supporting companies as well have been doing for the last 175 years. So thank you very much. Have a nice session.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bass, for the insightful opening thoughts, and we're very grateful to organize this event together with AEP. I'm sure this will be very helpful for European companies who want to enter the Chinese market. So next up, we'll have a presentation on the Enterprise Europe Network from Sue Philippi, who is the Director of the Innovation Department at AEP, and she is also an international business advisor at EN. So Sue, please share your insight with us.
Good morning. First of all, let me know that it's a great pleasure for me to be in this event and to have such a good number of participants. I'm here representing Enterprise Europe Network. I am as well the collaborator responsible for innovation department at AEP, but at the same time representing European Commission, because the Enterprise Europe Network is a network for business, is a network for help, especially SMEs, to growth in international markets. And Chinese market is of utmost relevance for Europe and for European Commission. So I would very like to emphasize this first idea for us as a business network, but as well for the European Commission. So I will try to share a very brief presentation with you all. Okay. Please let me know when you see the presentation. Okay, you can see it now?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So I will not go through all in a very specific way in all the slides, because I believe that all the presentation will be shared. I only want to emphasize some topics of this international network. Is the biggest and the largest network to support innovative SMEs with international ambitions. It's a network created by Enterprise and leading by Enterprise Europe Network. This organization has 458 participant organizations, mainly organizations that are close to industry, to companies, just like chambers of commerce and industry. But we have as well research centers, we have as well universities and government entities. We are present in 39 countries, countries in all European Union, but all as well countries, third countries, and the network is very strong in China. You can see through this presentation, the presentation has links that you can go through it and see where are located the partners of the network in China. This is an overview. Yeah, you can see as well that China is in the network. An overview when the network is located and what are the main countries that we are working with. The composition, I already speak about this, but we have specialized private and public bodies, regional government development entities and agencies, but especially these ones that work directly with companies, because enterprises, because this is what the European Commission is worried about. We want to have strong companies, these ones that are doing deep innovation, are development, new and crucial knowledge for us nowadays. So we are looking especially, we support big companies, but we are looking especially to those small SMEs and startups that really need the support of experts of this strong business network to go abroad, to enter new markets, and to go to expansion this activity with new and key stakeholders in different markets. This is our key achievements that network has been having. Are not numbers of my presentation, but this is our very strong numbers from the analysis of the European Commission. The network approach, it's looking to the client approach. We are not interested in having 1 million of clients, but we are interested, and this is the point of the European Commission, to support each company in the way that this company needs the support. If the company wants to go to the Chinese market, it's very appealing. We will work with this company, and we will see with the experts, just like this one, Alessio, that will have, and we will lead us, and we will help us. But we will look to the client and the specific needs that the client has. Because of this, we have tailored services. Not one service fits all the companies, all the issues, all the problems, but we have a solution, and we look for a solution to each problem. The network have a very large, wants to have all the expertise that the market needs. We have engineers, we have lawyers, we have experts in the emerging technologies, just like artificial intelligence. We have expertise in the main activities and thematic areas that are of utmost relevance nowadays for the companies. And we can see it in this slide that have a resume of the main activities that this business this network of business work with. We work especially with innovation that is essential in our days. Sustainability is alongside everything we do and every business, every activities. Resilience, each day more and more relevant. We work the EU single market because in the last years, we didn't give too much relevance of the EU single market, and we have a very large number of consumers. So a Chinese market is very, very relevant for us, but we want that the European market has the same relevance for you, and I firmly believe that you have the same vision as well. And we are a network, as I mentioned several times in my presentation. This is the main idea. We are a business for partnering, for business, for helping companies and entities to establish crucial key cooperations between them in order to grow. Digitalization, internationalization, and access to finance are other relevant areas that work in as well. This slide mention all the areas that the European Commission want we work in a very specific way, and it covers all the industrial ecosystems that European Commission defined. As at AEP, as Chamber of Commerce and Industry, we work with all these industrial ecosystems. We know very well all the partners that work and that are leading these industrial ecosystems, but we have a special role in the cultural and creative industries. Actually, since January 2022, I am the chairwoman of this sector group. We have semestral on-site meetings with the European experts in cultural and creative industries. At this moment, we are 102 experts coming from 80 countries. And the next meeting will be in Slovenia in November. And we have a very special approach with the European Digital Innovation Hubs and the European clusters in order to help this sector to grow and to have a more and more relevance, because this sector have a very strong spillover for all the other industrial ecosystems. We represent Portugal as well in the textile sector group and in the maritime and the industry sector group. But as I said, other members of the Portuguese consortium in EN representing Portugal in agri-food, health, digital, renewable energies, and we the industrial ecosystems has very good support from thematic groups. European Commission organized thematic groups in areas, in very relevant areas, just like sustainability, environment, access to finance, in order to help us to give the companies that are our clients to have the best solutions and to achieve the best opportunities for them to grow and to be more sustainable. I already mentioned this. This is really the work in action. We are not only a network for information, but we are a network for partnerships, for cooperation, and for business. We have a special role to do to make the bridge between the companies, between the national economies and the European Commission leaders. The European Commission responsible to the European policies are very interested in listening from us. What are the main issues? What are the main problems that the national and the local economies are facing in order to adapting this big jargon of regulation that we still have in Europe, and that sometimes is we have problems with this. It's a problem for companies to facing this very strong and regulation that we all have in Europe. We are an open network, each day sharing knowledge, and each day have a relevant number of events all over Europe. This slide is very relevant because in each point you can I don't go through this because I don't have time for this, but you can click in each picture and you can go directly to the network, to the platform, and in this public website you can see you can find all the representatives of the network in China and all over the world, with the names, with address, with the mail address, and you can contact them directly. But if someone in this event wants to contact me afterwards, I'm totally available to have this contact and to help and to support. In the success stories, we already have some relevant Portuguese success stories as well.
What is the Enterprise Europe Network? We are the world's largest support network for small and medium enterprises with international ambitions. You can reach us in more than 40 countries worldwide through our over 450 network partners. How can we help you? We offer free tailored support services for companies, startups and scale-ups. We guide companies towards more sustainable business models. We bring your innovative ideas to commercial success and build up your business resilience to future challenges such as supply chain disruptions. We enable businesses to benefit from the opportunities of the EU single market. We tailor digital solutions to your business's needs. We ensure businesses are able to access the right sources of finance and help them access international markets in Europe and beyond. We introduce companies to the right business partners and provide them with customized advice on EU rules and intellectual property tools. Thanks to our expertise, every single day, more than 835 businesses received help to innovate and grow internationally. Over 525 companies have benefited from specialized guidance and training sessions. More than 112 businesses benefit from our expert advice. And at least 5 companies entered partnership agreements. And we have a 92% satisfaction rate. Will you be the next one? The Enterprise Europe Network can help. Enterprise Europe Network, 15 years supporting businesses with international ambitions.
So to finally my presentation, I would like to put the same question. Will you be the next one to contact Enterprise Europe Network to have this support that I mentioned? The Enterprise Europe Network serves as a bridge connecting entrepreneurs to key resources and to key opportunities. It was my pleasure. Please, I'm available for everything that you want to know and for any support that you may need. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sue, for the informative overview. I'm sure that the strong network of the Enterprise Europe Network in China is indeed going to be a valuable resource for European SMEs, which do not have a lot of resources to enter the international market. So now let's turn to Sergio Alves, who is the manager of the EU SME Centre. He will discuss the center's initiative and support for European SMEs looking to enter the Chinese market. Sergio, please share your insights.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Z. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this webinar. As Z just referred, my name is Sergio Alves. I'm a manager at SPI, and SPI is one of the consortium members that runs this initiative of the EU SME Centre. And basically, what we do is to support European SMEs to explore the Chinese market. Just to give you a little bit of background, the EU SME Centre is an initiative that was created by the European Union in 2010 and has been maintained since then. Currently, we are running the 4th phase, which started in 2022, and it will go all the way until 2025, the end of 2025. And this is implemented by a consortium of partners that, as I just said, SPI is a part of. The partners are the Camera di Commercio Italiano in China, the European Chamber of Commerce with China, and the ICCF, the Italian China Chamber of Commerce. And we have other partners that are participating in this consortium. In a shell, the core mission of the EU SME Centre is to facilitate market access and provide free first-line services to inform, advise, train, and connect SMEs. This is done through the development of partnerships with business support organizations, for instance, just like AAP, and trade promotion organizations to bring our support services and expertise to European SME centers of any kind of sector. And how do we do this? We provide, because we are entitled by that on behalf of the EU SME Centre, we provide free services to our partners to reach MSME organizations or companies. We provide, let's say, 5 main services. We provide a self-diagnosis tool, a knowledge library of comprehensive reports, specific individual advice, training, and advocacy for consistent consolidation voice for EU SME services, for EU SME entities. Diving a little bit deeper on each of these services, let me just introduce you to the self-diagnosis tool that the EU SME Centre provides to its partners. This tool, which is an online tool, allows each MSME to assess the readiness to enter or expand activities in China, identify knowledge gaps through a business quiz that was developed by our experts, and it is maintained and updated as needed. We also provide private consultation after any MSME has answered all the questions of the diagnostic tool, so you can get a more tailored approach to the needs that you have, to the gaps that were identified, and of course get recommendations to further learn through our library of content that we provide through our knowledge center. And all this is tailored to the needs that are identified through the self-diagnostic tool. I just referred the knowledge center, and this knowledge center provides to any MSME that becomes partnered through a business support organization access to market reports, guidelines by sector, thematic articles and reports, providing insights into current issues, including, for instance, cross-border e-commerce taxation and human resources in China. We also have a database of service providers of more than 200 professional service providers that can help SMEs grow through their business in China. So becoming a partner of the EU SME Centre provides the liberty to browse the library of free articles, get up-to-date information, regulation and market access, find answers to frequently asked questions, and of course, share best practices and experience gains through your peers and also through our own reports. As I also said, we also provide, EU SME Centre also provides tailored advice through a tool that we call Ask the Expert. So if any MSME has specific queries to present to the EU SME Centre, we can, through our experts in Beijing, provide specific tailored answers to the questions that the MSMEs have. So in this way, we can support the development of business solutions, including risk detector on prospective suppliers and partners, find business support organizations, that are better equipped to help and support the needs that MSMEs have, and also provide our expertise on business development, market access, legal affairs, standards, and human resources in a tailored way, a customized way for the needs of the MSME. Beside that, one of the most important support-oriented approaches that we facilitate is training and events. So EU SME Centre is available to support development of seminars for our business support organizations that are our partners at different stages. This can be just understanding the market, like a little bit this one is going to be, through understanding best ways to approach the market, e-commerce, trade fairs, digital strategy, exporting to China, and more, but also to learn to avoid common pitfalls like in the drafting of contracts, setting up or managing human resources issues. We can also develop training and events to train your team in Europe with our team on the ground in China. And we can provide you with a lot of previous webinars recorded that can allow you to understand how it is, the best way to approach the Chinese opportunities, the Chinese market opportunities. Finally, the EU SME Centre, of course, because it represents an initiative, the EU, that has the goal to facilitate access to the Chinese market. The EU SME Centre provides advocacy actions, ensuring that the voice of European MSMEs that are engaged in accessing the Chinese market can have a voice in Europe and in China, working together to facilitate these relations. We also develop special publications on an environment report and policy papers, and EU SME Centre all take part in sharing experiences, gain insights, and participating in workshop and working groups and network with your peers. Finally, through the EU SME Centre website and actions, we provide increased visibility to our partners in specific sections on our website, providing information regarding each of our partners, the information package that we can provide about each of the partners, and also to provide information on the services, activities planned, and so on. So each partner of the EU SME Centre has a specific section in our website where all the information can be accessed to disseminate information and present our partners. This is an example that you are seeing right now on the screen. Finally, the establishment of this partnership is quite simple to obtain. You just need to get in contact with the EU SME Centre. We can agree on areas of cooperation, sign a very simple memorandum of understanding, and from there start enjoying the benefits of the partnership with the EU SME Centre. This was just a quick overview of what is the EU SME Centre and what the EU SME Centre provides to benefit the interests of the MSMEs in accessing the Chinese market. Thank you very much. And of course, I will be available for any questions later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergio, for shedding light on the valuable support offered by the EU SME Centre. I'm sure that the four main service areas, including the self-diagnosis tool, the Ask and Expert, webinars and training and advocacy, are extremely helpful for SMEs to understand more about the Chinese market. So now let's move on to the presentation on understanding Chinese market and the practical issues involved. Alessio Patino, who is a business advisor at the EU SME Centre, will lead us through this topic. Alessio has over 8 years of experience in EU-funded projects in China, focusing on policy analysis and regulatory support for European SMEs. So Alessio, please share your insights with us.
Thank you, Zai. Thanks to all the partners, EN, all the SPI, all the organizers. Good morning, everybody. So to make it short, I am the person that deals with the technical assistance, with the knowledge center that we saw in the previous presentation. When there are questions from companies about different things, I will be the person basically responding to you, and if of course falls within my expertise. So it's a great pleasure to be here today. I'll provide a very quick overview of the Chinese market. Of course, I will stick only to general principles, but I will also try to make some concrete examples in the process. But if you have any questions today during the webinar, but also in the next days, I will be very happy to answer these questions. So, sorry. I will focus on 5 main points. The first one will be a little bit an introduction from what we see from our perspective of the Chinese business environment, as well as the challenges for foreign companies. Then I will focus on other things like market entry approaches, what I think is the right mindset to approach the market. I will spend some time on some practical issues, and finally some conclusions about what happens once you enter the market. So I always like to start these presentations by reminding everybody that China is a mixed economy. So there is the private sector, there are companies that do a lot of innovation, a lot of research, but there is also a big role of the state in planning the economy. Of course, this happens at the central level, but it is at the local level, the local governments that have a key role in implementing this planning. So the local government have a very significant role in affecting basically market entry, as well as opportunities in your sector. So you might have read from news about the Chinese economy is not in perfect shape. Real estate sales are suffering. There is a lot of unemployment. All of this is true. But I would also like to say that the country is still growing. So it's not as catastrophic as it is. And I was in China last week, and people go to restaurants, they go to shopping, streets are pretty full. Maybe not as we used to see in the past, but it's still, it's not, the country is still growing. We also see in terms of direction, a little bit where China is going, we see a lot of regulatory activity across many sectors. This means that many requirements, many things are becoming clearer compared to the past when there were a few gray areas. Of course, there are still gray areas, but overall, there is more clarity. But this also means higher compliance costs, by the way. Also, everything that is green, from the green building to monitoring of carbon emissions to water remediation, it's particularly encouraged. So everybody's is trying to make something that the business is greener. And in terms of new quality productive forces, this is a jargon that you might see from government documents, but essentially means that there is more emphasis on science and technology as the main driver of growth. And what does this mean? I will mention in the next slides. There is also a lot of efforts to attract foreign investment. In my experience, in my perspective, if you are a big company or if you have what I call high quality investment, like R&D, or you are involved in a particularly important sector, then you might aim to big cities like Shanghai, Beijing, Shenzhen. But in my opinion, if you don't bring this on the table, then I see more opportunities in lower tier cities, so outside these bigger cities. There is also a lot of efforts to invest from China and Europe, as also to overcome some of the tariffs that have been discussed in these days. In practice, the Chinese market is very difficult. There's a lot of competition, both from local actors, but also other foreign actors. And I see that you really need to have a strong business case, not just in terms of the value that you bring, but also how you bring it, the strategy to bring it. And in my opinion, without a local presence on the ground, it's very difficult to be competitive and to be successful in the long term. And on top of this, I would also like to say that China is changing a lot, but also in Europe, there have been some interesting developments, economic security, there is a new commission now, so things are also changing in Europe. In this slide, I just want to share a few of the challenges, of the obstacles that we see European SMEs face once they get in China. Lack of enough knowledge, preparation, commitment. Sometimes some companies, they try to rush things, but without really knowing, maybe have a full picture of how things work. And this is a big mistake. Working with wrong partners, especially when maybe you have an exclusive kind of distributor, or you enter a joint venture. This is a big challenge, because once you get into this relationship, it might be very hard to get out of it without serious damage. Cultural factors, of course, we have interpersonal communication issues, but I would also like to say that the company culture, how things are done, the approval mechanisms, the meetings or standard operating procedures, these are all very different, maybe very different in China and in European countries, in Portugal. So this is also a big issue that might lead to people, leaving your company because they just cannot stand it. Or we mentioned there is a different role of the government, that could also be positive, because they might support you a lot if you help achieve their targets, if you bring something that is aligned with their policy priorities, they will support a lot. But there's also a lot of red tape. And many companies I talk with in Europe, they still have an idea that China is pretty cheap, labor costs are very low. This is a thing of the past. China is not cheap, it's very expensive, and labor costs are very high, but also hiring, renting an office space or a factory, or buying land for a production facility, this is incredibly expensive. And also compliance costs are very high. Local competition, we all see how strong many Chinese brands are. Also unwritten barriers, which is something that many European companies struggle to adapt. So what basically the law says is not necessarily what happens in practice, or so you have to understand a little bit what is between the lines, or what happens on the ground without which might not be in line with what the law says, and many others. So these are just a few examples, and of course, if you have others, you're very welcome to write in the comments, or maybe to ask questions, and so we can discuss about this. One slide about market entry approaches. Of course, as in any country in the world, there are different ways to enter the market. But there are also a couple of ways which I think are pretty peculiar to China. So of course you can work with the traditional export model. You find an importer, you find a distributor, they sell your product, and yes. But what is pretty peculiar to China is that you can do it in a normal way, so the general trade, but there is also another model which is very unique to China. It's called cross-border e-commerce. Basically, the sale happens entirely online, and then you don't need to maybe register your product. You don't need to have the Chinese label. It's a much easier and shorter way to export your product, and this is very convenient especially for certain products which would otherwise require very long approval registration procedures, such as cosmetics or health food. Cross-border e-commerce allow you to avoid all of this, but this is mostly for consumer goods. You can invest, of course, in China. You can establish an entity just for overseeing operations, to produce, for sales, and so on. Another thing which I think is very effective for China is project-based R&D cooperation. I understand many of the participants here are innovative companies. So something that has worked is to have to explore an initial cooperation through Horizon Europe. As you know, Horizon Europe is open to the world. Except a few cases, a few research innovation actions, most of the calls are open to non-EU partners. Of course, they should bring their own financing, but this provides an entry point for a demonstration project, for instance, which could eventually be scaled upon completion. If you want to know more about this, let me know. But then, of course, you can outsource your production. You can outsource development of a product. You can license your technology and so on. So there are different ways, and there is no right or wrong or better or worse. You can also do more than one at the same time. You can also actually have a Chinese investor in your company, which is a bit more tricky, but could happen. Another thing which I see European companies tend to underestimate is that if you already have an international client which is going to China or has some China operation, maybe try to work through that way. So maybe trying to ask them to introduce you to the China subsidiaries and see if they look for the solution. This is very common, and I was in Suzhou last week, and there were a lot of foreign companies that only work with foreign companies in Suzhou. So we tend to try to find a Chinese partner, but don't forget that there are also many foreign companies, international companies in China. Again, each way has different pros, cons, requires different levels of resources, commitment, and so on. The right mindset, what I think is very important. I like to say that there is when you go to China, take the time, the resources that you will need for entering other countries, multiply by 3, and that's what you require for China. So basically, market entry procedures, cost, everything is much longer, in my opinion. And don't forget that you are a startup when you go to China, unless you are super big company. But if you are even a medium or even slightly bigger company, when you go to China, you're basically a startup. So you have to build everything from scratch, your networks, your brand, everything. Another thing which I think is very important, try to focus just on one city or one province. Maybe make a short list of potential, like 2 or 3 provinces, but then find one and focus there. Don't try to go all in or take everything, because you will fail. And then starting from that province, maybe later you can consider others, but just focus on one city. Of course, another thing I like to say that we are very proud as Europeans of our products or quality or standards, which of course they are great. But many Chinese consumers don't necessarily know these things, and so they don't know how maybe the quality of our products. They don't know how special you are. Maybe they don't know the difference between a Porto wine or another wine from Australia. So we of course know, but maybe they don't necessarily know. So what I'm saying is that there are a lot of knowledge gaps that you need to fill with education, with marketing, with training, and this is costly. So having a good product, being a high quality product alone is not enough to sell the product. There are some experts, some wine experts, for instance, that say that selling wine in China is mostly marketing. It's not product, it is marketing. So, and I agree with this, and I think it also applies to other products. One example of this, what I call right mindset, is it's comes from a company that was engaged in soil remediation. So this is a very simplified version of this case study, but essentially what this company had a very good solution for soil remediation. So they went to analyze the central level 5-year plan in China, as well as other sectoral policy documents, because remember the Chinese system is a mixed system. So there's a lot of planning, meaning that a lot of what the country needs is written, is there. You will find it there. So they went to analyze the central level 5-year plan. They confirmed that it's a priority sector. Then they went to analyze local level 5-year plans, because there is not just one 5-year plan, there are thousands of 5-year plans. So they went to analyze the local level ones, and they made a short list of 3 provinces where the technology they provided was most needed, or where the issue they wanted to tackle was more severe. They hired a senior local person, and basically they started to do a lot of outreach to local administrations in China. They participate to a lot of local events, scientific conferences, and to basically introduce this solution. What happened is that they did a demonstration project in one city, and eventually this project was very successful, and it continued. The project was scaled up with after its completion, and now the company is still there with a small office, but they work pretty well. So again, this is a simplified version, and there are also other cases, but if you want to know more, of course, let me know. I would also like to spend a couple of minutes on some practical issues. So depending on the sector you operate, you might face some, let's say, some requirements in terms of cybersecurity, data security. If you sell consumer goods, maybe you don't have to worry about this, but if you operate, for instance, in the medical sector, in the energy sector, or software business, you will have to comply with Chinese cybersecurity laws. There might be restrictions on how data is processed and transferred overseas. So we could do a training just on this, but what I want to say now is that depending on sector, you might face restriction on this. So if you are really data-driven business, you need to make a careful assessment of this situation. There's a very different business culture in China. Business etiquette, the way business is done, is negotiated, of course, is very different. I would just like to say that personal relations are very important in China. I think there is first a personal relation, and then there is a business, rather than the other way around. So don't be so it's very common that to share personal life things, or going to dinner with a potential client. So the personal touch element is very important. And also the due diligence aspect is very important. Even though you trust your partner, still you should have solid safeguards in place that could eventually be useful in case in 10 years, in 15 years, something happens. So at the EU SME Centre, actually, we hear very frequently cases of European SMEs that have disputes with Chinese partners, and the way to prevent them or to minimize these disputes is to have a solid contract in place. Without a solid contract, if you have an issue, it's very difficult to enforce your rights. This is just to tell you, to show you, it's very common. I mentioned that many European SMEs come to us asking for recommendation for help because they had issues, and in many of these issues, basically scams, when they buy from companies some raw materials, and then they either don't receive the goods or are lower quality. We see that stamps like the ones that I'm showing you in these slides are used. So if you see any stamps like this, remember that these are wrong. These have no legal value at all in mainland China. If you see something like this, just it's very weird, and probably, yeah, and it has no legal value. Proper stamps in China look pretty much like this, and there might be some minor differences. Sometimes you see the red star in the middle, sometimes it's not there, sometimes you don't have the bilingual, let's say the English words, or in the outer circle, but they're always round shape, red color, and they look pretty much like this. So make sure that the stamps your partner use look pretty much like this. We also have, by the way, a report. Colleagues mentioned that we have many reports. One of these is basically some guidelines to draft contracts when you sell to China, but also when you buy. It also applies to when you buy. There are also standard clauses in this report that you can use both in Chinese and English. So I really invite you to download this report, which is free. You need to register an account on our website, but that's also free. So last, I would like to say that entering the Chinese market may be difficult for certain products, might be easier for other products, but overall it's still the first step. The real game begins after that. By the way, even before entering the market, you should have a clear IP strategy. You should register your IP because you know, foreign IPs in China are not automatically protected. You have to register them in China. There is another very nice European project called China IP SME Helpdesk, which is like us, but focuses only on IP. If you want to be introduced to them, of course, let me know. You can just Google them, but otherwise I can introduce you to their IP registration is very important. You should do it before you go to China. But once you enter the market, you know, of course, depends on the sector, but there is a lot of branding that you have to do, social media presence. You should work with influencers or maybe at least with consumers, do a lot of marketing activities, event marketing. If there are some trade fairs, some scientific conferences, you should go there, or maybe if there are shopping festivals or retail kind of promotions, these are all things that you must do because your competitors will, and you don't want to be the one that doesn't do these things. I also mentioned before, there is a lot of education and training that needs to be done. Training to importers as well, because even if it's an importer focusing on wine, their knowledge about wine might not always be you know, that strong. Training, tasting, and so on. Video tutorials are very, very effective in my opinion. Very important in China, you must have a customer service, an after sales service. This is and it must be responsive. Now, if you're a small company, you don't have to have it in-house because this is very expensive, especially because Chinese consumers expect to have a 24 hours, 7 days per week support, but you can outsource this to others. And I would say that this really makes a difference between products that are successful and products that are not. Because if they're not, you will receive bad ratings, and for Chinese consumers, ratings are important, extremely important. Logistics management, of course, is very important, but also networking. Networking in China, I mentioned before, personal relations are very important, and one way to build or maintain or grow these relations is to do a lot of networking, even if something might not be relevant for your business, but it's very important in China. For instance, if you have a PhD in your team and you do some technology stuff, do write papers, do publish on if possible on Nature or Cell or this kind of high profile journals, or go to scientific conferences, try to, you know, respond to calls for papers. These are very important things, even if they're not directly let's say related to your business, but yeah, just be there and go out there and talk to people. And last, I would also like to say that there should be somebody dealing with government affairs, even if it's a small company, but at least somebody that has these responsibilities, because I mentioned, remember at the beginning, that the role of government is very important. And don't take things for granted, different culture, knowledge gaps, and be humble and always try to learn. So I think I'm a bit late, but this is the last slide. China is changing a lot, so is the European Union, and maybe we might change even more, considering with the new commission. China, regardless of what we read online of the economic recession, whatever, it is a very important market. There are many opportunities. I think the difference with the past is that it's not anymore that easy to grasp these opportunities. It's very difficult to grasp these opportunities. And that's the difference with the past. And I think one way to do so is to have local presence. Being in China also allows you to learn new industry trends and innovations. Now, many innovations actually are born in China and are then exported overseas. So if you are there, you can actually say, you know this. And don't forget that China is also a very important base for other markets. There are a lot of free trade agreements between China and Asia Pacific countries. If you are there, you can. There are many examples of European companies that are producing in China, but they don't sell anything in China. They sell to Vietnam, they sell to Indonesia, they sell to Korea, and even though they produce there, it's very important that you're well informed. You know what are the risks. You know what are the challenges. There are many. You know what could go wrong. Many things could go wrong. But this doesn't mean that things will go wrong. You should know these things and should be prepared for these things. You know, careful planning. Remember that there is a lot of competition in China, so you really need to have something valuable that you bring. If you don't have any valuable thing or something unique, you know, you will not be successful. So why a Chinese person, a Chinese client, a Chinese company needs to buy your product? This sounds easy, but it's not always that straightforward. And I mentioned before, what is the right mindset? In my opinion, you should act gradually. You should have a long-term kind of objective, but act gradually, and then build on trust with your partner, but at the same time have some legal safeguards, because you never know what happens in 10 years from now, especially considering the changing, let's say, political context. By the way, Portugal is also now exempt from visa for China. So if you Portuguese citizens that want to go to China, they can go to China for 15 days without visa, which is a great news. So yeah, this was a very general introduction. Of course, any of the aspects I mentioned, if you want to know more details, if you want to have a one-to-one call with me, you are very welcome to do so. Again, totally free, no charge at any stage. So thank you for listening, for your attention, and I look forward to some questions. That ends my presentation.
Thank you, Alessio. Now we'll open the floor for more discussions and questions. So if you have any more questions, you can just type in the Q&A box, and then Alessio will answer these questions.
Yeah, I see there is one already. Yeah, so I will read it out so everybody can listen to it. So the question is, how do wine and spirits companies work when it comes to export? Are there high taxes due to alcohol? So there are three main taxes in this case. There is, of course, the custom duties, which I think it's about, I can tell you in a bit, but it should be about 20%, I think. Let me confirm in a second. Then there is VAT, obviously, which is 13%, and then there is a consumption tax, which is like tax usually on excess you have on luxury products or you know, harmful products for health, which is another 10%, I think. So to make it short, something very interesting is that you take the sales price of your wine, and then the final sales price in China would be probably 2.5 or 3 points higher. So if you sell your wine to your Chinese importer at 10 euro per bottle, the final price in China would be probably 25 or 30 euro per bottle. Of course, this is an oversimplification, but yeah, and don't forget, and this is also what makes our wines in Europe weaker compared to other countries like Chile, like Australia. These countries have free trade agreements that have no import duties. They have VAT, of course, but they don't have customs duties, so their prices will be much lower. So when you go to China, you will be competing with wines which are much cheaper than yours. So that's a big challenge. I hope that answered my question. But we have a report on wine, which was done last year. There are case studies, how people use Chinese social media platforms to do live streaming during the grape harvest season. I think it's very interesting. I really invite you to read that. There's also a part on standards and compliance labels and things like that. And the customs duty is 14%, by the way, or 20% for wine in large containers, so above 2 liters or 10 liters.
Okay, I think we have a second question. How how has the rise of e-commerce platforms changed the fashion retail landscape and consumption in China?
Well, I would say that e-commerce platforms came, I mean, were born probably 10 to 15 years ago. So the change has already happened. And I think what you have to remember is that everything now is digital in China, while in Europe maybe there is a lot of the, you know, the physical shop, or people go to the physical shop. I think in China this is not that common. There are of course shopping malls, but even within shopping malls there is a lot of digital technologies. Or maybe they just in the shop you can order the product and then you scan it and then you buy it online from the shop. And maybe if you do so, you get a small discount. I would say that's totally, changed everything. Everything is digital. Without digital, you will not be able to do anything. And you must be present on Chinese media, social media. You have to go on Xiaohongshu, very, a sort of Instagram, but Chinese. Douyin, somehow it answers the question. Yeah.
Okay, we have one more question from the attendee. Are there opportunities for foreign bottled water brands to enter the Chinese market, and what barriers might they face?
Okay, for sure you will need to comply fully with Chinese standards, like safety standards, which, to be honest, I don't know now the standards for bottled water, but not necessarily be the same as European standards. So in any case, you should do a lot of testing, inspections, and to prove that the water is in line with the standard. I think the barriers, I wouldn't say it's a barrier, but the cost will be will be a challenge. So there's a lot of Italian bottled water in China. I remember when I was living in China up to 2 years ago, a bottle of water, like local water, Chinese 5 liters, would cost in euros would be something like I don't know, 40 cents, something like that. While the same 1.5 liter of the foreign water would cost maybe 3 euros. So consumers, the group of consumers will be very, very, very small. And so I think this is the barrier. And but I'm not really a water, and I would need to, maybe make some analysis and check with other colleagues. Maybe write to me after this, and we can have a chat.
Okay, do we have more questions from the audience?
Again, I would like to remind that I would like to remind that any questions you may have also in the next weeks or months, just write to us, because we're here for you. We also have experts, that lawyers that can have chats with you if needed on certain things. So don't hesitate.
Okay, if we don't have any more questions, I think that's the end of today's webinar. Thank you for everyone to attend this webinar. I also want to thank you for all the speakers today for the insightful sessions. And I'm pretty sure that today's presentations are going to be very helpful for European SMEs who want to enter the Chinese market. And as Alessio said, if you have any further questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to the SME Center. And I wish everyone a great day. Thank you.